So, it's basically been forever since I've uploaded anything really. I mean, I had that creepypasta reading a couple months ago. Not even a couple months ago, a couple weeks ago, but I'm so sorry that I haven't uploaded like anything for you guys. I feel like such a scumbag because of it. But anyway, just like when I had that break because of my cold, I have a bunch of games that I want to review on my backlog of sorts. So the general gist is I've wanted to review these games for a while, but because stuff has been going on recently, or I've just been lazy, I won't. I'll be making these reviews now as opposed to. I was planning to make this back in February, I think, but I never got around to it. But anyway, here I am. I'm gonna review Deltarune, a sequel to. Well, sequel shorts. Yes, there are recurring characters, but we don't actually know technically if it's a full-on sequel. So, take the whole sequel to one of my favorite games with a pinch of salt. But anyway, let's get into the game. And starting off with the story and characters. So the story and characters, Deltarune, goes a little like this. It's all a little this story all about how. So yeah, stuff happens. Okay, should probably actually get to explain the story and characters of this game and why I like most of them. So the story basically goes a little something like this. I can't remember much of the actual like exposition dump story-wise at the beginning really. But basically, Chris, main protagonist, and Susie, a monster at his school, have to go find Chalk, her teacher, Alphys. And, well, they try to go in the closet, and supply closet, and they can't find any. When they try to leave, they can't, and they get transported into another dimension. And found out that they are the chosen heroes. Well, two of the three. Or I'll say the prince, the prince of this dark world of sorts. Even though he's not the king's son. I think it was prince of the. Wait, there's something I'm not sure actually. So basically, yeah. Basically, yeah. A great thing to say. Absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, and then they're the three chosen heroes. Though at first, Susie doesn't really want to be a hero. She more so wants to be a villain, but after a long time of convincing, because actually most of the game's runtime, Susie's not even in your party due to that. But eventually she does join. So now, let us something. Oh yeah, and apparently friendship saves the day. Where's the Millennium Puzzle at? Basically, they have to fight the King of the Darkness, who's basically being an evil jerk person. They defeat him very temporarily, though, as he fakes wanting to be their friends, then attempts to kill them. And that's generally and then Chris and Susie go back home, and while technically you could argue it's a bit too early to be reviewing this game since it's only chapter 1, point still stands that story pretty good, though I think it's pathetic. Well, not pathetic, but not as good as its predecessor Undertale's story. She has one of the best stories in all of fiction, not just gaming, in my opinion. And now let's go over the characters, as this is now the story and characters part of my review. Not just, how do you say, not just story. So let's start with our silent protagonist, Chris. Who, like said before, is a silent protagonist, and therefore does not really have too much of a personality. You can make him the good guy, you can make him the bad guy, which is part of why I really liked Undertale. It's all up to your personal interpretation, whether you were playing as a hero or a villain. And so let's move on to Susie, who I mentioned before. Basically, a girl with an axe who wants to kill everything. Except at the end, now she only wants to kill certain things. Basically, her friends mean things that she wants to kill, and if it's important to her friends, she won't kill it. Though, in dialogue, she is freaking hilarious, but considering this is a sequel to Undertale, or spiritual successor, I mean, Sans, Toriel, and Alphys, and Undyne do show up, and Papyrus is mentioned. Pretty sure it's going to be a sequel, but story-wise, thus far, it's just simply a game that takes place in the same universe as Undertale. And the next major character, Ralsei, my precious, precious boy. I love him. I apologize for that. But anyway, Ralsei. He's the prince, and he really just doesn't want to hurt anyone and wants to be their friends. And considering I'm a huge Yu-Gi-Oh fan, that just makes me very happy that friendship will defeat anything. And the Millennium Puzzle. Fortunately, we don't have a Millennium Puzzle, 'cause that's kind of copyrighted. But whatever, man. Then we have Lancer, my second favorite character. At first, he tries to act like the big bad villain, like his dad. And at the same time, he's obviously, if he were actually a villain, extremely comic relief. He acts all big and tough, but doesn't even have a good evil laugh at the beginning. Come on, even Doofenshmirtz can do that. Freaking Doofenshmirtz. You gotta be better than Heinz, man. But, anyway, there's not much other than it. He's extremely hilarious in dialogue, and he does realize that he doesn't actually want to be a villain. Instead, he wants to, because of him ending up befriending our heroes, mainly Susie, doesn't really want to hurt anyone. And one minor character near the end that I guess don't care for all that much, Rook's card, which is a combination, according to a lot of people, of two of my favorite characters from Undertale. Papyrus, my favorite character, and Mettaton, probably my third favorite character. And while I do love them, their personality of, "Wowee, I'm greater than everyone," truly worked because I thought they were, because during their section of the game, if you will, they had someone they worked off of extremely well. Papyrus with Sans, as Papyrus is serious about capturing a human and loves puzzles. Sans is just his lazy brother, who really doesn't care. Partially because he made a promise to Toriel, but I'm not going to be making an analysis of Undertale that day. I already made a shitty review of that. If you want to know basically my thoughts, even though my thoughts have changed a bit since then, you can go check out that video. Anyway, freaking. And why do I think Mettaton worked? Because sure, Mettaton really just put on to show her Alphys, and because an Alphys extremely doubts herself, yet Mettaton is like the complete opposite of that. And part of why I like those characters is because there's more to their character than just, "I'm funny, laugh at me." Which is why I think Rulok's card character is completely. He doesn't get any development, but considering he comes at later into the game, I can't give him too much crap for. If he was introduced early on, like when we first come to the Dark World, not exactly, but around the time we meet Rouse and Lancer, and he got no character development, I really could, well, not even just development, but just overall, like a more interesting character than laugh at me. Because Papyrus, well, yes, he wants to get into the Royal Guard, he's quite harmless, actually, and just wants to be everyone's friend. Which is a conflict during the waterfall section of the game, because he's trying to work with Undyne to catch you, but at the same time, he's your friend. He really has to pick and choose who he wants to help out. And Mettaton, I feel that the whole development after his boss fight really helped his character, because, well, he could just take your soul, go up to the surface, and entertain people of the surface. The underground doesn't really have a star like him, so he wants to stay in. Most of this video's runtime, I think, has just been me complaining about why Rolex card works, not doesn't work, and Papyrus and Mettaton don't. And now we have the main villain, King, who, as of now, is just generic evil guy. But considering he was introduced at the very end of the game, I don't blame him. Hopefully we can see more of him later. But like I said, his character as of now is basically just generic evil guy. And while I could go over Jevil, who looks a lot like my favorite character in all of media, Dementio, surprisingly, since he's really just an optional character, I don't feel he's necessary to go over. And after 16 minutes of talking about the story and characters, we can now move on to the presentation. Now I finally know what presentation means, other than graphic look good or graphic look bad. It means the overall feel of the game. So, well, yes, it does. Presentation is how presentable and how good game looks on a graphical level. It also takes into account music. So music will not be a subtopic. Technically it will be inside of presentation. So, what do I feel that freaking Deltarune gets on presentation? Let's start with graphic wise. Graphic wise, just like Undertale, it looks phenomenal. Back then I said that I don't think Undertale looked that great. I mean, I think in battles it looked phenomenal, but the overworld left a little bit to be desired. But after a recent playthrough, I no longer agree with that. I think it's like presentation of Deltarune, where where what am I trying to say here? Where frickin' where it just looks great all the time. I don't really think it ever looks bad. And music-wise, as considering this sequel to Undertale, one of, if not the best soundtrack in all gaming, in my opinion, you betcha it's good on terms of music. In terms of music, not in terms of music. I'm stupid. The tracks for the areas, they feel quite atmospheric, and a lot of the time I hum to the music on my first playthrough. Something that usually takes a few playthroughs for me to do, so excellent job on the music, Deltarune. All I can say is the game presents itself as absolutely phenomenal. There's not much more I can say, so let's move on to the gameplay. It's pretty much a repeat of Undertale. I'm a huge RPG fan, as it is kind of my favorite video game genre. But, so, as I see a lot of these turn-based RPGs, when it's constantly, battle system is like, he hit me, and I'll hit back. He hit me again, it gets boring after a while. As much as I love Pokemon, I feel that kinda suffers from this, not gonna lie. But Undertale and Deltarune I don't think suffer from this, because as opposed to a normal turn-based battle system, well, yes, it is turn-based, at the same time, you can pretty much dodge every attack in the game if you're skilled enough, and avoid damage completely. though it does take a lot of skill and effort. But this time, it does add another interesting layer. And that would be the fact that instead of just being first this time around, where everything was freaking up to you, now you have a team, which makes battles a bit more dynamic. So you can have one character say, "Oh, I'll heal this turn." One character defend, one character do an action to spare opponent, or if you're going for genocide, which isn't really an option anymore for some reason, you can have them attack. Which is great in terms of diversity. I really think it's interesting. And all the characters have their own unique skills. You can have Frisk, who mainly just does actions that Frisk would have to try and get the opponent to a spareable state. Rouse has healing spells and pacifying spells to make your enemies easier to spare. And Susie, you can buff attacks. So it feels like everyone has a bit of a different role instead of them feeling all the same. Which makes this very much unique, at least compared to what we had in Undertale. Not trying to say that Undertale's battle system was bad or anything. And there's not much more to say. The puzzles, I think, are well thought out for the most part. They did actually did take me a bit to figure out the puzzles. So, now let's go over my final verdict with Deltarune. This is a great sequel or a spiritual successor, if you will, to Undertale. Do I think it tops Undertale? There are a few things that I feel that Undertale tops, which I'll just go over real quick, which may or may not change in the future depending on how many chapters, well, what the chapters do. I do feel it's a bit too short in my opinion. Though I generally like to play a bit longer games, so that might just be that. I'm not the biggest fan of linear games, so I generally like it when the game's longer as long as it doesn't drag on like Xenoblade, in my opinion. I do feel that the presentation-wise Undertale looks just a tad bit nicer and sounds a bit nicer. Whether it be sound effects or something else. But on the writing department, I feel it's slightly better than Undertale. And I do feel more attached to the characters. While I do think I prefer Undertale's characters more, I felt that since we actually had a protagonist group, like an anime, at least the anime that I like to watch, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, I'm a huge Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, you couldn't tell. Where there's usually a protagonist group as opposed to just the main character. Because, well, yes, Papyrus, Sans, and all the like do appear again, it comes off more as either, in terms of anime, because I've been watching a lot of anime recently, more recurring characters or rivals, as opposed to characters who are permanent members of the party. So overall, I give Deltarune an 8 out of 10. A couple of minor flaws get in the way of its greatness, but not a bad game. Alright, so next time I'll be meeting you here for hopefully the trending of the new series. Not gonna put text like next time. Though it might be my next review with him. Yeah, I'm probably gonna do my next review next, as opposed to the new series, which is hopefully coming on Friday for you lovely people. But what is the next review? I can't remember exactly what was on my backlog next, but trying to go off of memory, it was Yoshi's Woolly World. One of my all-time favorite video games. And I'll explain why. So I'll see you guys all whenever I see you guys next. See you then.